Indiana Fever guard Kelsey Mitchell has been named the Eastern Conference Player of the Month.
Numbers. Who are you giving Player of the Month to? I think it could have been Caitlin Clark. I think it should have been Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell undoubtedly had a great month. I'm not going to take it away from her.
And the announcement immediately reopened a debate that has been simmering inside the organization for weeks. Indiana finished the stretch with an 8-2 record, one of the strongest runs any team in the conference produced over that span, and head coach Stephanie White was recognized alongside Mitchell, earning Coach of the Month honors for steering that turnaround. White spent the majority of those games standing on the sideline with her arms crossed, chewing gum, tracking substitutions and matchups with the kind of restless intensity that has become one of her signatures on the bench. Her recognition drew little argument. The team won at a high rate, the rotations worked, and the results spoke for themselves. But when the league turned to the individual honor for the month, the choice generated a different kind of reaction, because the numbers underneath the trophy told a more complicated story than the headline suggested. Mitchell had a scorching month by any measure. Her scoring was consistent, her shot-making was efficient, and she was, without question, one of the best offensive performers in the conference over that stretch. Nobody disputes that. The disagreement is about what happens when you set her raw scoring number next to the full picture of what her backcourt partner did during the same window. Because once those numbers are placed side by side, the case for Mitchell alone becomes much less clear-cut than a single stat line implies. Over that same period, Indiana's point guard averaged 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 7.5 assists per game, while posting an efficiency mark of 68% true shooting. That is an extraordinarily difficult combination to produce. Scoring at a high clip while also facilitating at that level, and doing so with that kind of shooting efficiency, is the type of statistical profile that usually forms the backbone of an MVP argument, not a runner-up case for a monthly award. And that production came while she played nearly 6 full minutes less per game than Mitchell did. 6 minutes in the context of a 40-minute game is not a small gap. It is close to 15% of total available playing time. Mitchell had a meaningfully larger window each night to accumulate her 27 points per game, while the point guard was generating historically efficient scoring and playmaking numbers inside a much narrower band of minutes. When the ballots were finalized, the pattern that emerged was familiar. Voters gravitated toward the bigger scoring total and stopped there, without accounting for the minutes disparity or the value embedded in the assist column. The monthly breakdown of weekly honors adds another layer to the discussion. Across that same stretch, the point guard collected back-to-back Player of the Week awards, recognition that specifically singles out a player as the single best performer in the conference for that 7-day window. Mitchell won one Player of the Week award during the same period. On its face, that math suggests something fairly direct. If a player is judged the top performer in the conference for 2 out of 4 weeks in a given month, that player typically holds the stronger overall case for the full month honor as well. Weekly recognition is supposed to build toward the larger monthly conversation, not run counter to it. Instead, the standard used for the weekly votes did not carry over cleanly into the monthly vote. Where the weekly panels rewarded complete two-way production and playmaking impact, the monthly vote leaned heavily on a scoring total, and that shift in emphasis is where the disconnect starts to show. Scoring is the most visible statistic in basketball, and it is easy to understand why voters gravitate toward it. A player who can come off a screen, catch the ball in rhythm, and knock down a contested jump shot over a defender is doing something difficult, and Mitchell did exactly that at a high level throughout the month. But that kind of shot-making does not happen in isolation. Someone has to be the reason the defense is scrambling in the first place. Someone has to draw a second defender at half-court, read the rotation, and thread a pass through a tight window to create the space that a scorer like Mitchell then exploits. 7.5 assists per game is not simply a secondary number tucked into a box score. In practical terms, that kind of assist total typically translates into somewhere between 15 and 20 additional points generated for the team on a given night, points that never show up under the player's own name but exist because of the decisions she made with the ball. When a player is directly responsible for that volume of scoring, while also maintaining an efficiency mark as high as 68% true shooting, comparing the two guards using scoring average alone stops being a fair or complete method of evaluation. The value is there, it is simply distributed differently across the stat sheet. The public reaction to the award followed a familiar pattern once it was announced. Commentary online quickly turned toward speculation about tension between the two players, with people combing through short video clips from the ceremony, studying reactions and body language for any sign of a rift inside the locker room. The more accurate explanation is considerably less dramatic. two elite guards played at an extremely high level during the same stretch, and the team won consistently because both of them were producing at that level simultaneously. Mitchell's role in that success is not incidental. Her scoring forces opposing defenses into difficult decisions on every possession. If a defense sends extra attention toward the point guard, Mitchell is positioned to punish that choice on the catch. If the defense instead stays attached to Mitchell, the point guard has the space to operate and create off the dribble. That two-way threat is part of what makes Indiana's backcourt difficult to game plan against, and it is a dynamic that should concern opposing coaching staffs regardless of who is holding the individual hardware at the end of any given month. The larger issue at stake here goes beyond a single plaque for a single month. The concern is the precedent this decision sets heading into the season-long MVP conversation. If voters are willing to prioritize a raw scoring total over elite playmaking, superior shooting efficiency, and a substantial gap in playing time, it points to a real blind spot in how these awards tend to get decided. A player who controls the pace of the game, organizes the offense possession by possession, and elevates the production of the players around her should not be penalized in the voting process, simply because a meaningful part of her role involves distributing the basketball rather than shooting it herself. If that same surface-level approach is applied when the larger, season-ending honors are being decided, the player generating the most total offensive value on the floor could end up overlooked for the recognition that production would otherwise justify. None of this is a case against Mitchell as a player, or against the value of what she accomplished over the month. Indiana does not have to choose between a dominant scorer and an elite floor general, because both are on the roster and both were producing at an elite level during the same stretch. The debate over who had the stronger individual case will likely continue among fans and commentators for some time, but the underlying numbers point to a fairly clear conclusion. One player scored more total points across the month. The other was responsible for shaping the flow and outcome of nearly every possession she was on the floor for, doing so in fewer minutes and with a level of efficiency that is difficult to find anywhere else in the league. If voters continue to lean primarily on the most visible number in the box score without accounting for playing time, efficiency, and playmaking value, this same pattern is likely to repeat itself later in the season, on a larger stage, with more significant consequences attached to the outcome. What makes the timing notable is that this wasn't a one-month blip. Clark had already won Eastern Conference Player of the Month for June, which means the award now sitting with Mitchell completes something the league hasn't seen from a single backcourt in 15 years. Two guards, same team, same position group, taking the conference's top individual monthly honor in back-to-back months. That is not a coincidence produced by one player carrying the other. It is what happens when both are performing at an elite level simultaneously, forcing opposing coaching staffs to pick their poison on every single possession. The efficiency conversation around Clark specifically intensified late in July, not because of a full-month average, but because of a stretch of games that looked almost unprecedented by WNBA standards. Over her final 4 games of the month, Clark produced true shooting efficiency north of 75% while playing under 30 minutes a night, numbers that outpaced even the league's reigning scoring leader over that same window. That kind of per-minute production, paired with an assist total that consistently ranked among the best in the league, is part of why some fans and commentators online argued her July case was, in their words, stronger than the June performance that actually won her the award. None of that takes anything away from Mitchell's month. She led the league in cumulative scoring, extended a 20-point streak that is now the longest in league history, and did it while shooting a career-best clip from the field and from three. The Fever's 8-2 record was built on both guards clicking at the same time, and Stephanie White's Coach of the Month recognition reflects a coaching staff that found a rotation letting both stars thrive without stepping on each other's usage. The debate over whose month mattered more will keep playing out online, but the record book already settled the larger point. Indiana's backcourt is doing something historic together.